Now that the caste census debate is already on, let's now examine whether the central government can actually implement caste census. But let's go into some historical background. A few days back, Modi government announced that it would conduct caste census when the next population census will be held. Now, the last population census was held in 2011. It was supposed to be repeated in 2021 because census is supposed to happen every 10 years, but the 2021 census couldn't happen because of various reasons. One of them was COVID. And since then, we've been hearing and waiting for the next round of census, but there's no clarity about whether it's going to be organized at all or not. So that's the historical context. But now let's understand whether caste census is feasible currently or not. But what's caste census? Caste census is basically enumerating all the castes in India and then mapping them against our population. सरल शब्दों में भारत की जितनी जनसंख्या है उसको विभिन्न कास्ट्स में या जातियों में डिवाइड करना. तो is this the first time that the caste census is being held? No. Caste census in independent India was last held in 2011 when the UPA was there in power. But the caste census was also organized during the British era, notably in the late 19th century, in 1921 and in 1931. So this census has always been a part of our census operations. So now let's see how the caste census thing has evolved. So when the first population census was done way back in the late 19th century, so the British government at that time, it divided India into four parts: northwest frontier provinces, central provinces as in UP and MP, then Bengal, and then Madras. Okay, so then they came up with they identified several jatis or castes, and then they allocated people in those buckets. Some of them were Brahmins, some of them were Shudras, some of them were belonging to other people, but other castes. But what was surprising was that, say, if there was a Dhankar in Rajasthan, or at that time Rajasthan was in northwest frontier provinces, and he identified as, say, a Brahmin, right? The same Dhankar jati in, say, Uttar Pradesh or Bengal in the late 19th century probably said that we belong to Kshatriya, correct? So there was a great deal of discrepancy this way across India. That was in 19th century. It happened in the next census, caste census, in the late 19th century again. And the British were so, they were so fed up with all this that they actually recorded that it's very difficult to organize a caste census in a country of this scale as India. So nevertheless, then in 1921, the British government organized another census, and now around that time, in 1921, around 1921, caste-based politics was still in its infancy. You must understand. I am not saying that the caste-based politics wasn't there, but it was in its infancy. The British had begun to tinker with the various jatis insofar as to divide India's population is concerned, so as to keep the independence movement in a way. But nevertheless, it was in dormance. What was happening was that, thanks to the various political reforms, some Indians were getting a chance to vote, right? And in 1931, Indians again voted. So what happened was that those people who claimed to belong to a certain caste in 1921, they said that, oh, in 1931 we want to become another caste. So for example, the Kamar caste or the Kumar caste in Bihar, okay, probably they identified themselves as Kshatriyas, okay, in 1921. But in 1931, the Kamars or the Kumars said that they were Brahmins. Similarly, the Sutradhars in Bengal, right? They identified as themselves as Vaishya in 1921, but as Brahmins in 1931. Yeah. Napith, right? Napith said that they were Baidyas in 1921, but then in 1931 they said they were Brahmins. Similarly, Kahar or Ravani, right? This caste, it was supposed to be Vaishya in 1921, but then they became Kshatriyas in 1931. Similarly, the Jatavs, who were Kshatriyas in 1920s, they decided to become scheduled castes in one of the later censuses. So, the point that I am trying to make is that it's very difficult to place a certain jati to the same jati over several years. Now, let me give you an objective example. In 1931, there were 4,000 odd jatis or castes according to the last available British census in 1931. This number swelled to 46 or 47 lakhs in the 2011 census. Why did it swell? It swelled because people were looking at the various opportunities. The more backward you are, if you belong to a scheduled caste or if you belong to a scheduled tribe, then you stood to gain reservations. That was the logic, right? And then people were also breaking away from their own communities. New communities, new jatis were coming up. So from 4,000 to 46 lakhs. In fact, the government of India at some point of time had identified nearly 4,000 jatis, right? 6,000 jatis. They had identified 6,000 jatis meant for various kinds of reservations. This was the Ministry of Rural Development or Ministry, these were the various ministries which said that there were 6,000 various castes or jatis that were eligible for reservation. Now, these jatis or these reservations, they did not include Brahmins and other general castes. Okay. This number swelled to say how much? 46 lakh 73,034 in 2011. Not just that, in the 2011 census, the Census Commissioner recorded 8 crore inaccuracies in his report. 8 crores is a huge number. It's a very, very huge number. 8 crores. So that's why the 2011 census never came out. Right? So to imagine that in the next caste census we would be able to remove these inaccuracies would be next to impossible. Right? Now that people have tasted the benefits of reservation, the benefits of creamy layer reservation and all those things, it's difficult to stop them from claiming that I belong to this caste or I belong to another caste. I, as a Brahmin, though I'm proud of being a Brahmin, who can stop me from saying that I am a scheduled caste? Or who can stop me as a Brahmin from inflating my family size from say 4 to 10? And if there are say 10,000 such Brahmin families who inflate their numbers, then you can imagine the surge in population, the growth in population artificially. So that will definitely distort our policy making initiatives. So that's the danger of the caste census from a macro point of view. From another point of view, the caste census, as I pointed out earlier, was that people belonging to non-GCs would say that jiski jitni sankhya uski utni bhagidari. So if they are like 70% or 80%, then they would say that we want 80% of our jobs. Okay, but on a more granular level, this thought that jiski jitni sankhya uski utni hissedari is dangerous for even the scheduled caste also, because now you've got so many subgroups within the scheduled caste, right? Now, for example, so let's take an example of scheduled tribes, right? They are like 6% or 7% of them they get reservation, which means that every seventh job, uh, yeah, every seventh job belongs to them. Yeah, similarly, you can calculate the proportionate representation of the scheduled caste and then their jobs in the Indian government jobs, right? Uh, with regard to the EWS, the reservation is 10%, which means that if there are 100 jobs, then the 10th job would belong to the EWS, right? So this is how the reservation is coming up. But if there's a small marginal group within scheduled castes which says that we are like X jati and their population is just say 1,40,000, and if there are say 1,000 jobs only, then they would not get any chance in that particular job because they are very small. So they would need 100 such jobs to come in order to compete for their share. Can you understand? So that's the bigger problem that's going to happen when and if this caste census happens. Now, with regard to BJP supporting caste census because Congress wanted it to and all that, that's a useless debate. In fact, even in 2011, BJP supported caste census. In fact, Congress did not want caste census. Its Home Minister P. Chidambaram, he said that it's very difficult to have caste census because of various operational reasons. But then UPA's partners like RJD and Samajwadi Party, they said, no, we want caste census because they were eyeing the Yadav and the other backward caste vote in UP and Bihar. And now, since their two important allies wanted caste census, so the Congress said, okay, let's have it. And when BJP saw that these three parties want to have caste census, then BJP also said that yes, let's have a caste census. It's on record. In 2011, they wanted caste census. It's a different matter that Mr. Modi did not publish the results of the 2011 caste census, though his government said that there are several inaccuracies in that caste census report. So this is a brief about the problems of having a caste census. Mr. Modi could have done to steer clear of this caste census, and he could have focused on development alone, but then political decisions have their own logics, and I wonder what's going to happen, particularly to the very weaker sections of our society who are now looking at the caste census with great hope that they will get some jobs, but there aren't any jobs either. So that's the big problem with regard to caste census. I hope you liked this video, and I will quote the sources that I have quoted, that I have spoken about here in the text box, in the description box of this video. So please go through those sources and let me know how you found this video, and hopefully it adds to your knowledge and adds to your critical reasoning also. Namaste.